I thought I heard some commotion. Just what I need. More guests. Well, welcome to the Bennett home in Cookham. As long as you're here, there are a few rules I might notify you of. First, please be sure to silence your cell phones. Or better yet, just turn them all off. I'll wait. Next, please be sure to have no flash photography during the show. Mrs. B doesn't fancy the paparazzi. The only people Mrs. B likes are the Friends of the Arts. If you want to learn more about them, you can find their information in your program. And if you see them tonight, please be sure to give them our thanks. If you want to become a Friends of the Arts, you can see the ushers upstairs in the lobby. Now that all the rules are over, I would like to present Cherry Creek High School's proud production of Death by Design. Mrs. B. Having spats every single weekend with her husband. I can't believe the two of them. So infuriating. I've got to clean up the mess every single weekend. No one else. And why do I have to throw it? I can't resist it. It's a normal argument. Oh, scared me up to death, Jack. Where have you been?
Wiping down the Bentley, you splashed all over with mud. Why are you muttering to yourself?
Oh, the missus ought to give me fair warning next time she's coming. Thinks she can pop in and out any time she pleases, she does.
That's the way the world's designed, love. The rich in their proper place telling me and you what to do.
The larder's empty and there's no time to go to the village. I've yet to read me tittle-tattle even.
They've had another row, they have. Real whopper.
Oh, then it won't be long till himself shows up too. Lager lad?
Thank you kindly. The sky opened up while the mist and I was muttering about. I had to pull over and put up the canopy till the sky cleared. Where's Miss B now?
Prancing about in the garden, if you please. Assuming the role of Lady of the Manor. Depend on it, she's up to something this weekend.
Like clockwork whenever she receives a porn notice in the Daily Mail.
I best prepare for a performance here in Cookham.
Newspaper didn't take kindly Mr. Bennett's writing neither. So they tussled. He was hollering like a madman when she lammed into him. Whack! Right across the kisser. Then he grabs her and tosses her to the floor. She's crawling on her knees when she grabs an oriental vase and hurls it smack right at his head. Tiny pieces flying everywhere.
Those vases cost a pretty penny. They should throw pickle jars at each other.
And then she's out the door saying, I quit the show, never coming back.
That old trick.
I tell you, the fight was a great deal livelier than the show itself.
Attending the theater, are you, lad?
Front row stalls, but I got the elbow from the bloke sitting beside me when I got in snoring. Society women sipping their cocktails makes me drowsy.
Yeah, get enough of that on the job. If I ever attended the theater, I would see a
Come
show.
to town, I'll ask Mr. B for 2 tickets.
Me mum saw a show once with the lass falling over a cliff. That's something I'd like to see.
Even before the dust settled, I was firing up the Bentley. Damn that downpour, I got my work cut out for me, all right. She needs to be bright and shiny when I take her for a spin tonight.
And what kind of sinful thing has yourself got planned?
This fine evening I'm headed down to I Street with a lovely young lass that shall remain nameless.
Clara, the redhead.
Oh, I swear, Bridget, you got the keenest mind in all of Cookham.
Tain't nothing. Last time you came down here, I spied a long red hair on your collar. Here it is. You can do better than her, Jack.
Oh, Randy Oldham, you want me all to yourself.
Oh, look at you lying about. You lack the steam to be keeping up with the likes of me.
I'm soaking it away for tonight.
Watch out for these modern women. Now, where's me ball of yarn?
Now, if I can keep me lady in town hidden away from my bird and Cookham, and keep them all from finding out about my last intent, I should be able to keep this loaf of bread on me shoulders.
Pace yourself, lad. Too many lasses. That's asking for trouble.
Oh, you're the only one I want.
Oh, devil, put me down!
Squealing like a sweet lass of 16 you are.
If you're so keen on lifting things, why don't you hoist the sofa? Me ball of yarn must have rolled under.
All right, here you go.
A woman up in the air isn't proper, Jack. Someone might see me knickers.
No near, but you and me and I've seen your knickers plenty.
Poking through me dresser drawers, are ya?
Billowing on the clothesline like sails on a clipper ship.
Don't be bold, Jack. Now get back to work while I make this place fit for the living.
Come, sit by me.
That's enough foolishness. We don't want Mrs. B seeing the two of us here loafing.
Oh, she's so scatty she'd walk right by.
Oh, I was hoping to finish knitting me muffler this weekend. Not very likely.
You're like a mum to me, Bridget.
A good lad you are. None of these ruffians tooling round High Street.
Ever since the poor dear passed when I was just a wee lad, I've had no one to do for me what a mum does.
How did she go so young?
'Tis a sorrowful tale.
Aye, lad, another time. You with no mum and me with no kids to call me on. Who else have I got to be knitting my muffler for?
For me, is it?
Do you fancy the colour, Jack?
Matches me eyes.
Course it does. Away on with you, lad, and hop it.
Ah, Bridget, good afternoon.
Welcome, Mr. B.
Your timing is impeccable. What is a 5-letter word for tranquility? Third letter A.
Death.
Death, you say? You're in a sour mood.
First, the missus arrives without warning. Now you're here, and there's no telling who else will be showing up. The only tranquility I'll have is when I'm dead and gone. Only in death will I find P-E-A-C-E.
Ah, most kind. Sorry to have upset your schedule, Bridget. I had an irresistible urge for country air.
Oh, the country air to be outside, sir. Had another spot, have you?
Guilty as charged.
Bandage gave you away.
In a normal marriage, one might have asked if I had fallen.
If you don't mind me saying, sir, tain't nothing normal about you and Mrs. B. Use all your faces that way. Have to put your flowers in soup tins.
Whither the mistress of the manor, hiding in her boudoir, weeping tears of regret.
Prancing about in the garden, sir.
Wearing one of her preposterous hats, I presume.
Looks like a pillow it's losing its stuffing.
I'm certain her hat is very fashionable, Bridget. Sorrel Bennett is always à la mode.
More's the pity. It's big as a tent.
To shield her from the sun's rays, she's obsessed with preserving her youth. Last week, before rehearsals began, she injected monkey gland.
You're joking.
With Mrs. Bennett, there is never a need to joke. The woman traffics in self-parody.
I told her to pick some greens for salad. Put her to work, I did.
A salad before dinner sounds superb, Bridget.
Not before dinner, sir. That is dinner. It's all we have, and a tin of sardines.
Sardines and a salad sounds a poem, Bridget, an absolute poem.
Flattery won't cut any ice with me, sir.
I trust the bar trolley is fully stocked.
What do I look like? A maid?
You do. Rather, have I been suffering under misconception?
I don't mean to be grouse, sir, but the furniture needs dusting, and the floor needs sweeping, and the silver needs polishing. They've yet to read me tittle-tattle even.
Don't fidget, Bridget. I promise we will have a peaceful weekend unless Sorrel launches into one of her venomous attacks on my writing, in which case I shall murder her with an axe.
Do it outside. Axe's make an awful mess. A force knife.
A peace offering.
Me tittle-tattle! Much obliged, sir. Imagine what kinds of horror might have happened without me knowledge.
I'm certain the editors would be delighted to know your patronage is so fanatical.
Can't miss an issue, sir. What nowadays with all these wives and husbands and mistresses and lovers and bits on the side nowadays with their poisoning and shooting and stabbing and strangling each other.
I was unaware that parlor floors across London were strewn with the bodies of thwarted paramours. The only men and women I've seen on parlor floors have been dead drunk.
Who said London? This is all happening right here in the village.
In Cookham, well, that must reduce the population considerably.
A wife done her husband in through the back with a carving knife at dinner. That is mutton he was.
Before or after dessert?
After, sir.
Well, that seems to show some courtesy at least. Sounds quite messy, though. I'm certain it quite ruined his jacket.
And soiled the carpets. These wives don't think that when they're going to go skewering their husbands, that the carpets will be bloody all over, and the maids will be the ones to clean up the mess.
Bridget, you have my absolute assurance that I will never attempt to eliminate my wife in any way that would increase your labor.
Both Miss... Both Mrs. B and I will be grateful, sir.
And I shall encourage Sorrel, whatever homicidal design she may pursue, to keep the carpet foremost in her considerations.
Much obliged, sir.
Personally, I feel a poison would be equally effective and much more difficult to detect.
Very neat poison is.
What poison is the most difficult to detect? Your talk of murder has aroused my curiosity.
There's aconitine, arsenic, chloral, cyanide, morphine, prussic acid, and strychnine.
I believe my sleeping draught contains chloral. Could it prove fatal?
One would have to consume an awful lot of it. Most times it just knocks you flat for a few hours.
Bridget, I must say, your knowledge in these matters is quite impressive, if a bit unnerving.
I could discover who done it quicker than any of you push police, including Inspector Benson.
Is that the chap who barged in when Sorrel threw herself down the stairs?
I believe you gave her a wee push, sir. That's the reason she rang him up.
It was insufficient cause for her to summon the constabulary.
Coppers don't know a thing about human nature. They assume who's the guilty party, and the real evildoers toddle off easy as you please. My motto, assume the worst in everyone.
Bridget, I must say, your complete lack of faith in humanity is astonishing. I've been sentimentalizing these rustic characters I've been writing.
Put me in place, sir.
Oh, I've been in service longer.
Lolling about with your gory stories would put the working class to shame, and Mr. B put the likes of you on stage.
I'm afraid I'm entirely to blame. I've been assailing Bridget with inquiries.
I'm off. There'll be more time tonight with me tittle-tattle with a hot toddy.
Afternoon, Mr. V.
Are you surprised to see me?
We've trod this path before. Looks like she fetched you a good one.
I was wondering why everyone at Paddington Station was looking at me with moist, sympathetic eyes.
She's a mighty arm, I'll give her that.
Did you notice any wounds on her?
No, but she did mention a few black and blue.
My wounds are always glaringly conspicuous, whilst hers are neatly concealed beneath her wardrobe. It's not fair, I tell you.
If you like, Mr. B, I can teach you how to duck.
That's very kind of you, Jack. I received little practical knowledge at the Royal Academy for the Dramatic Arts. My training in phonetics left me woefully unprepared for married life. I should have taken the seminar on unarmed combat.
You did throw it to the ground in one quick move. 'Twas a fine throw, sir.
I will admit that the satisfaction I had once derived from hurling Miss Bennet to the carpet has subsided over time. I guess it's that way with all marriages.
That's why I'm a single man, Mr. B, and I'm to remain so all me days.
Have you ever struck a woman, Jack?
No, sir, not once. On me honor.
Really? I'd assumed the servants held each other about like cricket balls.
I admire the ladies, Mr. B, and wouldn't biff 'em if me life depended on it.
What if the right woman happened by?
Do you mean would I strike her?
Would you marry her?
Well, the right women happen by on a daily basis in town here in Cookham and back home in Kent.
You should have joined the Navy and expanded your harem.
No thanks, sir. Don't take kindly to water. Shrinks me, Willie.
Jack, I am certain the right woman is out there for you, unless the popular songs have it entirely wrong.
Beg pardon, Mr. B, but when I see the way you and Miss B carry on, any desire I harbor for wedlock is squashed like a gnat.
Oh, don't be slack, Jack, or you'll end a lonely bachelor.
Keep the lady smiling. That's the ticket.
Ah, Sorrel. What is an 8-letter word for murder? Final letter E.
Marriage?
I believe the editor prefers a synonym, not motivation.
I offered a synonym.
Do you really plan to murder me? Are you planning a homicide?
Time will tell, dear. The weekend has only just begun.
It appears a few pigeons have roosted in your bonnet.
Is it your intention this afternoon to hurl insults at me like javelins?
Did you choose that lethal metaphor deliberately?
Entirely subconsciously, darling, but you know what Dr. Freud says.
I was unaware that you were familiar with anything Viennese, apart from their sausages.
We danced this tune on the Isle of Capri, don't you recall, darling?
Would you be so kind as let this dance with me now?
I suppose I shan't go anywhere without you, chasing me like a demented hound.
Did you really expect me to remain in our flat amidst the pile of shattered glass?
You flung me to the ground, darling. That was uncharitable.
It was hardly cause for you to hurl a vase, especially the me.
You were heartless.
And we are mingless. It was spiteful of you, Cyril.
Spiteful. That's rich. I'm calling about my hands and knees. And you asked if I would like a cocktail?
An exceedingly generous offer, given that my face was beginning to swell.
That so-called ming was cheap imitation. It belonged to your first wife and it has been bothering me for years.
You are my first wife, as I have oft reminded you, but certainly not my last.
What have I done to inspire such venom?
Oh, your snoring is particularly impressive.
That bandage is quite dashing.
Might I have a look-see at your black and blues before we retire for the night?
I believe fate is trying to tell us something.
I actually find fate quite impertinent, always inserting its views gratuitously in the vaguest of terms.
Our song has ended. The time has come for us to go our several ways.
Oh, but we're bosom buddies, peas and carrots.
You may cling to those tedious idioms whilst I tell you my news.
Who is it this time?
I've invited Walter Pierce for the weekend. He'll have to be back in London at once.
You impudent cat! Invite anyone you like, an American for all I care, but I will not permit a politician in my home.
I did not know you were going to be here, else I would not have invited him.
Oh, you wanted me to follow you to Cookham, admit it.
Can I help if I'm irresistible to those in the halls of government?
Oh, where they denounce immorality the week long and totter off to their mistresses come weekend.
I am not Walter's mistress, of yet. And he is not a mere politician, he's a diplomatist. I intend to travel the world with Walter Pierce wearing extravagant hats.
Walter Pierce was recently elected, along with a group of like-minded charlatans, with the interest of eliminating decadent behavior entirely.
Entirely? Well, that should keep him quite occupied.
They despise people like us, Cyril.
Walter Pierce adores me.
Oh, he adores the characters I have written for you. My Daphne, my Beryl, my Ariadne.
He wants to save me from you!
We mustn't quarrel, Cyril. It would set a bad example for the servants.
Good afternoon, Miss B. Done some gardening.
Yes, Jack, but I'm having a hard time deciding which of these greens might be used for a delicious salad and which I might use to poison Mr. Bennett.
Still at it, eh?
Good day, Mrs. B. Brung in some provisions, have ya?
Yes, Bridget, I found these at the outer edges of the garden. Do you recognize any of them?
There's Baneberry, Black Nightingale, Foxglove, Hemlock, Spartus, Thornapple, and you.
Me?
You, from the yew tree. It's poison. They're all poison.
Bridget, I am flabbergasted. Not only are you able to identify each herb, but again, you've alphabetized your list.
This is a catastrophe. Whatever will we do for salad?
Here's a wee bit of lettuce.
And there's always a tin of sardines in the larder.
Oh, it seems Mr. Pierce will have to find other ways to satisfy his appetites.
Walter Pierce?
What's this?
I've invited a friend for the weekend. You'll have to pick him up at the station at once.
Is that so? And what'll he be eating, pray?
You'll have to cobble something together with the sardines and lettuce. But he should be so utterly mesmerized by my aura, he'll hardly notice what's on the menu.
Oh, he can sleep in the Caligula room.
We don't have a Caligula room.
We do now, and I'm sure that's not the last we've heard of it.
We don't have enough food to be getting us through the weekend. Mr. Pierce will starve.
He'll likely bring chocolates.
Oh, careful, Cyril. Your Act 2 costume has begun to split at its seams.
Must I take the Bentley back out into the mud?
Jack, would you do me the favor of eliminating Mr. Pierce on the way back from the station to spare me the effort?
Bridget, will you be a dear and toss some of these poisonous greens into Mr. Bennett's dinner salad?
What's going on here?
There's a plot afoot.
A murder mystery?
Oh, I detest those plays. They make the audience scour every turn of event and phrase for clues.
We aren't expecting anyone else, are we?
This is the entire cast, Bridget.
Murder mystery needs a few more suspects, don't it?
Not this one.
Well, off I go back into the muck and mire.
I believe we've offended the servants.
Walter Pierce, of all people, how could you, Cyril?
Truth be told, I'm not entirely sure whom I've invited for the weekend. There were throngs of clamoring gentlemen at the first night reception, all proffering their cards.
Oh, so you shuffled the deck and summoned whoever was on top?
Oh, don't be acid, dear. Must I suffer because the Daily Mail detested your recent effort?
They didn't care much for your particular brand of caterwauling either.
Oh, what am I to do when you've written such hollow characters but to fill her out?
Oh, there is nothing hollow about Daphne, and no need to bellow the entire third act.
Daphne is another in an interminable line of world-weary society women laughing gaily while she nibbles caviar and sips cocktails. Talking of which, fetch me a drink, darling. I feel stifled, Edward. Asphyxiated. My life is a bore. The same friends, the same parties, the same estates, the same gowns, the same sables, the same jewels, the same cars, the same photographers, the same high colonics.
Oh, no, that is quite enough. Here you are, my dear.
All that I can tolerate, but I beg you, not the same role.
The roles I have written for you are invariably different creations. It's your interpretations of them that are ploddingly, monotonously the same.
I can't go on like this. I shan't return to the Gettick.
Oh, but my dear, you'll be at the Gettick Monday next when the curtain rises on Daphne's Delight, unless you'd like your youthful and determined understudy to assume the role, which is, incidentally, much better suited to her range and proportions.
All of my dearest friends have insisted that I maintain the figure of a maiden.
A maiden aunt? Face it, Cyril, the curtain has closed on our days as bright young things.
My public won't stand for an understudy.
If you make that habitual threat one more time, I shall ask Gertrude Lawrence to replace you in the role.
Gertrude Lawrence is a third-rate hack who has had a tremendous amount of luck.
The Daily Mail feels otherwise. Let's see. Miss Lawrence once again proves that she is the reigning queen of the London stage. She possesses an incandescent charisma that hurls the entire audience into complete abject slavery.
How dare you memorize that quotation, Edward? I am an artiste. I long to perform the great roles.
Which roles, exactly?
I'm not entirely sure, but I have heard so much about them. Something classical, perhaps, or biblical even, where I die in the end.
Need I remind you, your tongue becomes increasingly agitated with period dialogue.
That is a lie. You saw my Mirabelle in the provinces.
It was Millimint, and you were horrid. You sounded like a fishmonger.
Fishwife, you mean. And I most certainly did not.
Oh, you mustn't impugn me for your limitations.
And you mustn't subject me to yours. The time has come for you to expand the parameters of your talents.
Your talents have been stretched to their outer limits and found wanting. I'll admit I write similarly shallow entertainments. I console myself with chronic commercial success.
Whilst I exist solely to bring truth and beauty to the masses.
Were you possessed of this notion before or after your high colonic?
Edward! We must cease this vulgar sparring. This isn't one of your mildly amusing plays. It's our marriage.
The principal inspiration for any malice in my work.
Am I to blame for yearning to consort with a man who is utterly infatuated with me?
I should like to know what his wife thinks of his weekend escapades.
Are you certain he has a wife?
Oh, politicians require spouses to be elected. It supports the misconception that they're a part of the common herd.
Accordingly, she must be rather plain.
Let's hope she doesn't turn up and cook 'em at any rate. It would send Bridget round the bend.
How am I to bask in blind devotion with you, sulking about making rude comments?
I promise I will not make a single insolent remark this weekend if you allow me to glare malevolently.
Edward, your ill manners betray the depth of your affection for me, but they do rather confuse anyone else who is subjected to them.
I had hoped that my ill manners revealed the depth of my loathing for you and frightened off anyone else.
Concede it, dear. You are mad about me. Now, do you promise to stay put in your study for the entire weekend as an act of penitence for your multiple grievances?
Am I to be banished to the Tower like Clarence of York?
I was unaware that we knew anyone at all in York.
Richard III's brother dies at the end of Act 1.
Let that serve as a warning.
Hello? Yes, this is the Bennett home. Victoria? Someone's at Victoria Station. Not Victoria State? Victoria Van what? Right here in Cookham? Immediately. You'll just have to wait. I don't like this one's sliver.
Who was that on the phone, Bridget?
A Miss Van Roth at the station, demanding the Jack Retriever.
What on earth is Victoria doing in Cookham?
You must have invited her.
I don't think I did.
Then she can sleep in the attic.
But I was in such a state when I last left town, I'm not entirely sure.
You two carry on like you own the place.
We do, Bridget. Don't we, Edward?
Oh, well, there is my exit cue. I shall leave you and Mr. Pierce to your gambles whilst I, plot my revenge.
while you're up there, be a dear and write something worthy of my talents. No. Perfect.
Walter Pierce, at your pleasure.
Walter, darling.
Sorrel, my dearest one, you look rapturous. A perfect painting.
What type of painting? A Titian, perhaps.
Like the one my spinster Aunt Nellie had in her parlor.
Charming. Do sit down, you look as if you're about to salute.
Yeah.
Bad tidings, Jack. There's a lady at the station needing a lift.
What lady?
Miss Van Roth.
Victoria!
Mrs. B doesn't even know whether
Once more onto the breach!
Bit nippy out there. Might I have a cup of tea?
Not on your life!
Don't mind her. She's rather peaked this weekend.
Quite impertinent, actually. She should consider herself lucky to be in service nowadays with so much of the lower class out of work.
Bridget takes an exceedingly dim view on any modification to her schedule. Have you brought me a gift, darling?
Oh, 1,000 pardons for you, dear chocolates. Who is Victoria Van Roth, may I ask?
Oh, she's my dearest friend. She dabbles in all the arts. She's a sculptress and she studies modern dance. And I believe she plays drums in a jazz band. That's one of her paintings there.
Oh, I can't make it out. Is it supposed to be a face?
It's symbolic.
Symbolic of what?
I'm not quite sure.
Art should convey the plain truth. None of this modern shilly-shallying. I must convince her. Is she open to persuasion or quite set in her ways?
Oh, she's open to all sorts of persuasion. Except perhaps the type you have in mind. She's rather bohemian.
Oh, that won't do it all. Difficult days are ahead for this country. We must all buck up.
Oh, Walter, you are adorably priggish.
I presumed our sojourn would be private.
Victoria rather loathes the country air. I have no idea why she's come.
Oh, after a week in the musty halls of government, I find the country air invigorating.
I could have sworn you were a diplomatist.
Oh, no, I am among 100 proud conservatives recently swept into Parliament. The general election was historic, don't you agree?
I wasn't aware there was an election, what with rehearsals and fittings and first night receptions. But you won, darling. Isn't that lovely for you?
I will put this country back on the right track.
And not a moment too soon. Now, why don't you fetch us both a drink?
Brandy? I cannot believe I'm in a room alone with the ravishing Sorrel Bennett.
That's very kind of you, dear. Do go on.
Oh, what do you mean, go on?
I should very much like to wallow in your compliments. Use your best butter.
Oh. The moment Daphne slammed the door on her husband, poured herself a cocktail, and laughed gaily, will be scorched in my memory forever.
It is most certainly scorched in mine, as a variation of it has been in every show Edward has written for me.
Your Daphne was enchanting, dear, as was your Beryl and your Ariadne.
And what about my sorrel?
I have never chanced upon a woman with such extraordinary talents.
Imagine traveling the world together, meeting strangers in far-off lands. It would be invigorating to accompany a diplomatist with no end of occasion to wear extravagant hats. What type of hats do you wear when you travel, Walter? I hope not pith helmets. They're rather silly.
I beg you recall I am a parliamentarian. When I am not in London, I'm at home in Kent.
Kent? You must think me quite daft.
Is that soft music playing, or is that just your aura?
Oh, it must be my aura, as Edward has smashed every last one of our gramophone records, apart from one dreary tango which skips prophetically.
You deserve more than an Edward Bennett.
That is precisely why I've invited you here, brave warrior. Will you save me from his evil clutches?
Delicate flower, you mustn't be trampled by his corrupt ways. I will provide a clear path to guide you.
A path with a darling?
The straight and narrow path to righteousness.
I should very much like to have a go at it, for the weekend at least.
You play women jaded with sophistication. A touch of their brittle bearing has stolen into your own heart, but I see the tender blossom underneath, and I shall unearth it.
Walter, I'm not sure you've got me entirely correct, as much as I appreciate the horticultural metaphors.
My dear, I know you better than you know yourself.
I too can see deep beneath your stalwart exterior.
There is nothing whatever beneath my exterior.
That very well might be true, but I am able to see the desire under your declarations, the objective hidden by your stated intentions. I'm an actress after all. That is my task and my gift.
And here is my gift.
Walter, we mustn't! Edward and I are husband and wife, as are you and... What's her name?
Don't let's discuss such things. The moments we share are few.
Fewer than you would imagine. I should very much like you to whisper something very beautiful into my ear.
Diplomatist.
Oh, no, that's not at all.
My declaration.
Much better.
Press on, old boy, don't mind me.
I was unaware you were in Cuckoo, Mr. Bennett.
Are you suggesting that a man is free to engage in lustful acts with another man's wife in the country if her husband is in town?
My behaviors were not lustful, sir. They were consoling.
I am bitterly disappointed. I had hoped your intentions were wholly dishonorable.
Oh, I need a drink.
Oh, do try the scotch.
We're having brandy.
Damn.
Edward, take off that ridiculous hat at once. It is not at all becoming on you.
Oh, so you admit it is ridiculous.
Walter is already aware that you are depraved. You needn't make an entrance as a country maiden to convince him.
Speaking of which, who is this Walter that's barged into our home?
Walter Pierce, parliamentarian.
Oh, Edward Bennett, platitudinarian.
We met at one of your first night receptions.
Were you a part of that obsequious clack smothering my wife?
I gave Mrs. Bennett my card, and she kindly invited me over to Cocum for the weekend.
Oh, very cheek of you, Searle, given that you knew I'd be here.
I most certainly did not.
Searle is insisting she didn't invite you. To show up uninvited is boorish and ill-mannered.
I am almost certain I invited Mr. Pierce.
Almost.
Well, you don't look at all like the man I thought I'd invited. The diplomatist.
But I gave you my card.
Oh, every man who meets the modestly talented Searle Bennett offers his card. Our flat in London is strewn with them. It looks as if a ticker tape parade has passed through. I mean, you'd think she'd swum the English Channel.
Perhaps I may.
Soon, I hope.
Enough. Now, Walter and I would like to resume our tete-a-tete, if you wouldn't mind.
Yes, I shall leave you and Caligula.
Now, just a minute, sir.
You needn't falter, Walter. Your secret is safe with me.
Secret?
The fact that I caught you and my wife locked in an amorous embrace mustn't at all suggest that I would use that information in any way to interfere with your vaulting political ambitions. Ta-ta!
Oh, dear.
Edward is beastly when he becomes jealous. I'm convinced that's why his first wife left him. He wounds me deeply. Comfort me, kind sir.
Perhaps we should take a stroll to Maidenhead?
Can't you see I am prostrate with grief?
I suppose there's no harm. My dear, you deserve more than that Popinjay could ever hope to supply.
Tell me, in what ways am I extraordinary?
Oh, dear. What an appalling creature!
Rest assured, you treats Edward and I with equal disdain.
Why ever do you keep her on?
We can only have very bad maids. Good maids won't have us.
Where is Edward Bennett?
Gardening.
Who on earth is that?
Pay him no mind. You are about to enumerate my charms. Now be quick about it.
Mr. Bennett, I found you at last.
How did you know I was in Cookham?
Your flat in London was empty.
You've been prohibited from entering our flat.
I crawled up the drain pipe and peered inside. No one was there, just a pile of rubble. So I bicycled here.
From London? That's 35 miles.
You must have very muscular thighs.
There is no time to waste. Conservatives have taken over Parliament. We're all doomed.
Oh, rubbish. Who is this lunatic?
Careful, Eric is perpetually feverish. You mustn't inflame him any further or he might explode.
Now is the perfect time for our stroll to Maidenhead.
Oh, that would be an exceedingly long stroll for you, Searle.
Cease the bourgeois prattle.
Actually, I found that remark quite amusing. I shall include it in my next play.
Eric, I thought you'd been institutionalized.
I just escaped.
Oh, very clever.
Mr. Bennett, you're a celebrated writer.
But not a very good one,
The
actually.
world adores you.
For an opposing view, I reference you to today's Daily Mail.
The time has come for you to put your influence to the greater good. You must forsake cocktails and caviar and write plays which influence the working class.
Don't be silly, Eric. Those people can't afford to go to the theater.
Why is everyone so dead set against caviars and cocktails of late? I've been quite partial to them since the day I was weaned.
I bemoan the waste you've made of your talents.
If I am forced to attend a play with a message, I shan't dress.
What's all this hollering? Who's this mangy mutt?
You flaunt your wealth whilst workers such as she can barely scrape by.
I must keep Searle in hats.
Thank you, darling.
Base facts, Mr. Bennett. Your days as bright young thing are now over.
I should like a cocktail.
There is no time for sleep or drink.
You must make time then, or else you will dehydrate.
I shall not drink while one man is thirsty, nor shall I consume while one man is hungry.
How long will you be staying, lad?
Till I convince Mr. Bennet to see the evil in his ways.
Oh, don't behave like an hysteric, Eric.
If you're spending the night, you'll have to sleep in the root cellar. It's through there.
There is no time for rest. The world is on the brink of collapse. But you hold the key to its survival, Mr. Bennet.
Oh, you young man, let me reassure you that the planet's endurance hardly depends on the likes of Edward Bennet.
Hold on. You're Walter Pierce. You're the worst of the lot. You and your ilk will drag this country into the sewer.
Oh, the country's already in the sewer. My ilk and I shall exhume it.
And your first initiative was to seduce my wife?
Am I part of a political agenda? How delicious.
Mr. Bennet, let's await your study and toil together. With my influence and your talents, we shall create a work that will enrich all of mankind.
Off the furniture, laddie.
Eric, after all that peddling, mightn't you need some tidying up?
There is no time for tidiness.
Oh, you should have seen that one coming.
Who is the greater sinner? He who robs a bank,
I forgot my
or he who owns one?
He who poses the question.
You wish to do away with the free enterprise system?
Profit and wealth must be distributed equally.
If you insist, Eric, I shall donate some of my hats to charity.
The poor do not want your hats.
Oh, their lives are sufficiently difficult without you subjecting them to ridicule.
There has been entirely too much abuse directed at my millinery this weekend. I find it quite insensitive, actually. From this day forward, I shall wear nothing but a muslin mob cap with a lace ruffle around the head and neck. I trust that will appease everyone.
You have missed my meaning entirely.
Eric, I'm thoroughly confused. Do sit down and explain. Try not to yell and we shall get along like a house on fire. What lovely hands you have. I trust you play the piano.
A useless occupation. I have vowed to engage exclusively in acts that may rouse the masses.
The bugle, perhaps.
Leave the masses be, they deserve a rest.
Oh, I am fed to the teeth with this discussion.
Walter, you must understand that I have many admirers, Eric among them. Isn't that so, Eric?
You're a great artist, Mrs. Bennet.
What type of plays do you propose that Mr. Bennet writes, given that his talents are extremely meager?
Plays of social significance, like those of my idol, Bertolt Brecht.
Oh, sounds like a kraut.
Oh, don't let's be beastly to the Germans, Walter.
We won the war after all, didn't we, Edward?
I fought on the front lines.
Bully for you.
Are you mad?
Yes, Walter, he is. Now, do be quiet or I shall send you home.
Oh,
Play along, old boy.
old boy.
Tell me, Eric, are there any leading lady-type roles in these shows? Or just an ensemble of workers waving fists and banners?
His Joan of the Stockyards features a great female lead.
Joan of Arc?
Brecht modernized the historical figure to emphasize the workers' plight. You would be outstanding in the role, Mrs. Bennet.
Oh, your timing is serendipitous, Eric. I've always longed to play a role like Joan of Arc. And at the end, she is burned at the stake. What a finale!
Are you certain your limited abilities would penetrate a suit of armor?
Hush, Edward. What type of hats does she wear?
I believe Joan of Arc wore a helmet.
Oh, no, that won't do at all.
She works in a meat packing plant. I doubt she would wear anything elaborate, as it might get caught in the machinery.
Eric, I'm not sure this meat-packing Joan of Arc is suited for my particular gifts.
Oh, and I wished so to see you go up in flames.
You couldn't care less about my career. You are cruel and heartless. Soothe me, Eric.
Oh.
Miss Victoria Van Rolf has arrived from London.
Sorrel, darling.
Victoria, what an agreeable surprise. I thought you had a performance this weekend.
I abandoned my recital at the Van Le Bon Dance Studio mid-step so that I might hasten to Cookham to console you. Edward! You are a beast! How dare you abuse this queen to whom you are wed?
Oh, she seems to have recovered quite admirably.
Merely a facade to disguise her pain. Sorrel, you must see one of my psychoanalysts.
You have more than one psychoanalyst?
I have two who offer contrasting diagnoses of my mental condition.
I should very much like to meet both of these psychoanalysts to see which offers guidance that suits my particular intentions best.
Oh, don't worry, Victoria. Sorrel is in the manly hands of Mr. Walter Pierce, staunch defender of morality.
Which one of you is Walter Pierce?
Morality is hypocrisy in a Sunday suit. I will not allow any such posture to encumber the journey I am taking to the recesses of my psyche.
Bon voyage.
London needs you to put your nose in the grindstone, Miss Van Roth.
What is this grindstone? In my dance, nay, in all my artistic pursuits, I use every sinew and corpuscle to receive and to communicate, which includes my nose.
I once knew a bloke that could lick his own elbow.
Victoria, darling, I believe you've lost an earring.
I have not. I wear one lapis lazuli, and I shave only one underarm.
I must say that is quite outre.
It's disgusting.
Oh, at ease, Victoria.
Who is this Van the Bon?
Rudolph is a god. His dance techniques demand personal, penetrating exploration.
Victoria, I must say it is exceedingly kind of you to take time away from your penetrating personal exploration to minister to my wife.
You'll have to sleep in the attic, miss. I'll air the room out.
Keep the foul and pestilent vapors out of doors where they belong.
Nothing foul down here unless you brought it.
All country villages are stagnant pools. To reside in one is not living, it is loitering.
You prefer the congested fumes of London's industries?
They invigorate me.
Exactly what type of dance do you do, Miss Van Roth?
I shall demonstrate. You, Marquis de Sade, when I say commence, beat the table thus. Beating is clearly within the area of your expertise. And you, tousled youth, shake the ice bucket thus. I will create an improvised work using only the latest modern dance techniques. It shall be called Wall.
Walter, would you care to participate?
Darling.
I prefer to sit on the sidelines.
Stand, man.
Now, just a minute.
I said stand.
Oh.
You represent Wall.
Walter, you have the title role. That's lovely for you.
Do you mean I'm a partition?
You are an obstruction, a barrier.
And what am I to portray, Victoria?
You shall be tree casting shadow over Wall.
What type of tree? A royal empress, perhaps?
Oh, a dogwood with age rings.
Tree will respond intuitively to the inner meaning of the piece through the movement of her branches.
I embrace the challenge.
Art is nigh. Let us commence.
Let me out! Oh!
In part 2, I shall trample Wall beneath my feet.
And Tree shall bury him with leaves.
What say you, Walter?
Oh, part 2, rot!
Oh, wall must be recast.
I haven't the slightest idea what any of that was meant to signify.
There is no single meaning. Endow the piece with your own interpretation.
But it's incomprehensible. What's the point?
It pains me to agree with the fanatical youth, but he is spot on.
Victoria, ignore them. Your piece was magnificent.
Oh, I cannot tolerate another minute in this house. You are all raving mad.
Happy to give you a lift back to the station, Governor.
Walter, you are in the presence of genius.
I was unaware when I accepted your invitation to Cookham for the weekend that I would be set a ring in a circus.
I found the performance deeply flawed.
Flawed? In what way flawed?
The piece was too abstract to have any real significance. And frankly, plumb silly.
Jackal!
Oh dear, I've aroused the wrath of Miss Von Roth.
Oh, I say, Eric, you're becoming quite catty.
I learned from the master, Mr. Bennett.
Sorrel, I did not hurl myself into this fetid country air to be subjected by these heretics whom you call friends.
Eric is not my friend. He's in hot pursuit of Edward.
Interesting.
As for Mr. Pierce, well, he's not at all who I intended to invite.
Oh, truth be told, I have been attending Gertrude Lawrence's first night receptions for years. Leaving my cards, it was only because she never extended an invitation to me that I accepted yours.
Gertrude Lawrence, is that so?
Go on, Miss B.
This is appalling. It is exactly what would become of government funding of the arts.
Oh, that looks lovely on you. Here, try this on.
I will see to it that no one penny is given to the bohemians and the radicals and the fanatics and any other crackpots who call themselves artistes. You are all moral degenerates.
The last train left hours ago.
Sorrel, I must flee this Philistine-infested room at once.
You can sleep in the Lucretia Borgia room.
Enough, Edward. Victoria, repair to my bedroom, whilst I prepare the lettuce for Mr. Pierce.
Wall, your days are numbered.
Actually, my percussive endeavors have quite worn me out. I shall retire to my room, where I will take a long, luxurious bath in capitalist bubbles. I assume when I return, only one of you will be alive. And, whatever you do, don't mess the carpet.
Much obliged, sir.
Might I have a cup of tea?
You'll be getting lettuce, and I don't want to hear another peep out of you. I shall prepare the Caligula room.
That is the most insolent maid I have ever encountered.
She's a bit testy this weekend, sir. Matter of fact, we all are.
If she were in my employ, I'd dismiss her on the spot.
She's too good to be working for the likes of Walter Pierce.
How dare you talk to me in that manner? Huh.
Good night, sir. Have a nice long rest.
Only a couple as deranged as the Bennets would keep those two on staff.
You expect courtesy from the workers who slave for you?
I demand it.
It's high time your entire class was exterminated.
Oh, dear.
Adieu, Walter. So sorry it had to end this way.
Adieu. Oh, right. Beg this to end. This is Bohemians and dances out. Hurry. Oh, salad. Oh, dear. Will you let me rest in peace?
I shall do precisely that.
on.
What on earth is that? Oh, what is happening? Stay right where you are!
She shot him.
Not so fast.
Is that his wife? What's her name? Alice.
Alice Pierce?
Batten down the hatches, laddies. No one's leaving this room till I discover who murdered Walter Pierce.